Okay, so I guess we're going to record from here and we're just going to share with everybody what we're talking about here. But basically, I was talking about how while the online influencer will always have a spot and that's not going to go anywhere, the future of network marketing has a strong piece of this in-person connectivity. And I've never built locally. I've never, done the whole person to person. For me, my safe space was online. My safe space was behind that screen. But this is the thing, is that what people are craving now is that connectivity. And I was talking to a lady the other day. She's at another company and she says her business isn't going very well. And she's a leader at another company, but she had told me that that she felt like they couldn't compete against the influencer. And I'm like, I feel it's just the opposite, you guys. I feel that influencers can't compete with us. Influencers cannot compete with the person who's going to have that real life connectivity, that in-person connection. And I'm just going to give you an example. When I was looking at companies before Bravenly, when I was actually spending some time like digging in, I was looking for someone to join. I was looking not just to, quick, give me your link. I want to have a product, right? I was like, I want to know who I can align with. Do you know how many influencers or people that look like, oh, maybe we'd connect? Maybe that would be somebody I want to work with, right? Where I'd connect with them. And you know what would happen? They wouldn't even see me. I'd be funneled into some funnel system. Hold on. If you guys are on, make sure that you mute. Let's see. It takes me a bit to mute everybody. So there's literally so many instances where, that I've been looking at I wanted to try a product because I might be interested in being a part of that business. What happens if that influencer doesn't even accept my friend request or doesn't follow me back on Instagram? Do you think I have any interest in working with that person? Absolutely not. So think about that. So an influencer might be able to go get a bunch of sales from strangers, but there's not that connectivity that we need as network marketers to build. We're network marketers because we build that connection. We build that community. So when we have, a lot of people saying, oh man, so-and-so went viral. I don't want a viral post. Do you know how many people are going to fall, within the cracks of that? How many great, incredible leaders you'll never get to connect with? Because there isn't that connectivity, that in person. So give me some solid relationships over massive influence any day, because that's the way of the future. So as I say this, being the person who likes to work online, I see the absolute need. I see the absolute need for us to be able to break bread with each other, to get together and to hang out and to share our products, our dreams, our visions, to build that connectivity. I know I've talked to Glenn before, and he said in his first company he built, and it was strong because of these relationships that they formed. And I know for all of you guys that went to conference, right? Did we not form amazing relationships? And would we have been able to do that online? No, it was us hanging around. That was us laughing. It was us, having these great conversations and being together in person. So that's why I think it's so important that we make sure that you don't neglect this part of our business. Does that mean you should stop posting online? No, I mean, that's still where I'm going to meet most of my people, y'all. You've met me, I'm awkward. So it's one of those things where you want to continue to grow with strength. You want to attract people online. You want to do that presence. But you know what? For people who are going to take that little extra step and they're going to do some in-person stuff, it's going to make their business grow that much quicker, right? Shush, Glenn, what are you doing? Are you harassing people? He smiles. Anyway, so I'm going to start out with this morning. And I have a few people that are going to get on and they're going to share their experience from the Georgia event. And I'm really excited to hear from them. And then I have Marcy, I think she's on here. Marcy, after that, she's going to share a little training because this is how she's built in the past and done big things with events. So she's going to share with that. And then after that, you guys, if you guys have something you want to share, if you have questions, if you want to shout out anyone, any of those things, we'll go ahead and you can just raise your hands after that. So Donna, I see you first on my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and call on you. And I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Hey, it's funny, Carly, because I'm the same. I've never built right around myself. I've always done it online. And so it actually was nice to see everybody up in Gainesville, because then I'm like, oh, that team has built this local community and they do all kinds of stuff together. And that was really, really inspiring. I just found out that like Candace lives like 10 minutes away from me. And, I'm excited to network that way. But a couple takeaways. I've been to other local events with a previous project, and I can tell you this was completely different walking in there. And it wasn't death by PowerPoint. It wasn't the same people talking about every single product and every little minute thing of the comp plan that is over and above a lot of people's heads when you're bringing people in. And I love that we all just kind of talked in a room. It was like just a gathering. And even Aspen, she had anyone contribute to it. Like I shared something that I do, Lelania shared something that she did, like so many people. It wasn't just about Dana and Julie and all them. Yeah, they put it on, but they also invited people that were just sitting in the crowd to invite too. And I loved that. And Aspen, every time Aspen talks, it's just amazing. But it felt like family. It felt like a lot of takeaways. Like I learned a little bit more about the 5 people sampling. And I talked to Ricky last night on the phone, and he educated me a little bit more on that. And that's how they were duplicating. It was different than what I was used to. Everybody was even going to conference, it was so different. Just everybody, I didn't even know people. We were all hugging each other. And I felt this way too. It felt just, we have something different here where I just feel like we're all related somehow. And we all were meant to be together, because people just come up and talk. And I remember like at other regionals with my other company, like nobody, I still felt like puny in the corner and not really part of it. And the way they presented it was just, I don't know, it was like a family gathering. And I love that all about it. But as for, they did giveaways. I don't know what details you want, but more than the details, I just love the way I felt there. And it did inspire me to network and start to connect with people around me. I'm kind of weird and introverted in person. So, it actually encouraged me to not be so weird and like reach out and, want that
GAYLE.ROSS.
That wasn't me. But it just inspired me to build like a big network around me and to have the people, because I've always been a little shy out in public here. And I loved it. Like we got to share. I thought it was just going to be a PowerPoint, and it was so much more. It was so much more. Lelania and I cried again. Like we can't do these things anymore because we're just a mess, but we just love it here. So that was what I got out of it.
I love that, Donna. So you said death by PowerPoint, and I have to laugh. You guys, like, that's huge. It's not just sitting in a room and you're like, and this is what I have to show you, right? This is what, we're going to teach you today. Because I think that Donna, when she was talking, she made it really clear that she felt like she was a part of something. And I want you guys to let that sink in. She felt like she was a part of a family. She was a part of something where she got to actually even have a voice in it. Donna, you said that they had you share, that they had you actually share something, part of your story, or how did that make you feel?
Well, it made me feel great. I don't like talking in front of like crowds. So, so I had a little panic attack at the same time, but it made me feel like valued, because, usually if I went to events like that, it was the same people on stage, the same people talking. You just sat there and listened. And just for the team and even for Aspen, like, tell us what you've done. Tell us what your biggest learning, what you've learned the most after coming to Bravenly, what is working for you. And we actually all collaborated with what was working for each one of us, and maybe something we learned. And, and I shared, because I'm so passionate about my I help statement and knowing that I'm talking to myself. And so many people came up to me afterwards. They're like, I never looked at it that way. You're talking to yourself when you're trying to recruit somebody, you're recruiting yourself. And so I'm so glad I got to share that with other people, because other than, with our team that we're working on I help statements, it was just something new for them to learn. And I learned so many new different tactics, and, I'm going to implement them. I love that it was a collaboration together, but I felt valued, like, and seen, and
Yeah.
Aspen remembered me. Like, I've had to reintroduce myself to presidents like a million times where they didn't know me. And I like that.
I love that too. And then also you standing up there and you sharing, did you feel, man, I have this piece of leadership within me? Did,
Yep.
did it kind of stir your belief
Oh,
in
yeah.
leadership? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Loved it.
And see, that gives me goosebumps, you guys, because what we do here is we help people find the gold in themselves and step into their greatest self and who they're called to be. And these collaborative events where Donna got to say, okay, my story mattered. Evidently, she made the CEO cry in a good way. That's what Lillian is saying anyway, right? And so she was able to share her story, even though it was scary for her. I'm sure if she would have said, no, I'm not going to do it, they wouldn't have forced her, right? But she got outside of her box in an event like this, and she's now seeing what she's capable of and the leadership that's within her. Wow. I mean, that's powerful. If nothing else happened but that event alone made a huge impact. And how cool is that, right?
Yeah.
So Donna, we just love you. Thank you so much for sharing, and we appreciate you so much. She's awesome. If you haven't met her in person, you will. She's great. So I'm sure we'll be hearing lots of her speaking on stage eventually and all the things. So Lelania, do you want to share a little bit about what you experienced?
Yes, I will. I'm hiding in my room because my children are still off school today. Because I guess they let the kids go off after daylight savings. So, anyways, what I learned was, one of the things that they talked about was continuing to share, even though, like, even once you hit like a really good rank, a really high rank, and you're making the checks that you were going after. One of the things they said is make sure you continue to share, because your people need to know that you believe Ravenly is worth sharing and you believe in what we have here. So don't like go off the radar, just coast and let everybody do the work for you. So once you get to where you want to go, or you're comfortable, make sure you continue to share what we have here so that everybody in your organization knows that you also believe in what we have. And then one of the things that I have yet to do, actually, it says when you get started, one of the easier things to do if you want to like kind of learn on your own and go through, if you go through list, is go through on Ravenly Nation on your phone. You click those those three lines at the top. It has the guides, so you can actually check off. And I looked at and it said 0 of 12 guides completed. So I guess you can check off once you do it. You can check off that you've done it, and it'll keep track and give you a little star. So if you're one of those people, that's a great way to get started. And then somebody else shared that I shared about giving the 5 samples out. So the way I did that from what Ricky talked about, and I went a little overboard with my 5 samples in the way that I presented it, because you can stick them in a mailer, nobody, and send them the information. I went a little overboard, and I shared about how I made my brand partner. I made what was it? The business cards for him, so that the person has their QR code. They could just scan, it goes to their website, make it easy on the people that are getting the samples to go and hopefully make an order. So I shared about that. And then somebody else shared that they will create a Facebook party for ambassadors, so that way they make, so if somebody signs up as an ambassador and they want to get their top 5 people or top 10 people and create a party, kind of as a way for them to maybe make a check and for you to share through your ambassadors, is to do like a sample pack giveaway. And they created a Facebook party page. You share some of the breakthrough stories and then follow up with each of the people on the party. So you could do that for a brand partner, but she's made a killing on her sales by doing it for an ambassador.
I love that, Lelania. I love that. So do you, by any chance, do you have your samples that you can show us of sitting around? I know it's kind of on the spot, but
If you give me 1 second, I will get them. I went as far as I cut up tissue paper and like gold tissue paper, and I wrapped it and I tied it with twine. And then I made labels for my sample packs. Our printer's not working, so I actually just made a PDF, put it on a jump drive, and took it over to Walmart and printed.
oh
So
my gosh.
I mean, it costs like 30 cents for you to do that. But then
Can't wait to see that.
I went a little overboard with them. It wasn't not too much. But so these are like Rush Extremes.
Oh my gosh.
And
those are
then, so I
cute.
have these in my purse. So the Rush Extremes, and then on the back of it, I have taped their little motivational cards. And then on the back of that is my
Your
my
QR
name,
code.
info, and my QR code. So it goes. So this is like if somebody, I wanted to give a sample to somebody, you can give them a Rush Extreme and with the motivational card. And I made that's what I made for my brand partner too, is I made her little business cards with her information and her QR code. So then that way, you know, they had her information and they could go to her website. So
That's
I thought that
awesome.
was, and she enjoyed it. And I gave her a pack of them too for her to be able to hand out and whatever she needs to do.
And that's cool. You notice she was helping her brand partner. That's something that we can do as leaders to kind of pour into, you know, our people, as if they have prospects or they have people they, you know, we can help them sample. One thing that I've done in the past, I'm like, hey, give me 5 people like you guys are talking about with Reiki, and you can go ahead and, you know, sample those. So that way, if you've got a new brand partner, what they might not have even gotten their kit yet or their products yet, you can get the ball rolling for them. And you can help sample out. So,
and one of the things that she did, it was really awesome because one of the things she did is when she called them and said, hey, Elena's going to send you these samples, be on the lookout for them. Her friend, you know, she hadn't even told any of her friends. And they said, oh, what's this stuff you're ordering? They've got on, 2 of her friends got on and ordered without ever even getting the samples. They were like, oh, I want this, I want that. And one of them is having to get her blood pressure medication redone because the burn's helping her like blood pressure.
nice. I
Or blood
love
sugar.
it.
My bad. Her blood sugar was like being controlled. So she's
Blood
having
sugar,
to go get that redone. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, and that's without ever even getting a sample at all.
That's crazy. That's awesome. So, you know, there's just so much power in that. I love that you did that. I just have to be honest with you guys. If you're sitting there like, I'm not going to send out samples because mine aren't as cute as Lelania's, I'm going to say most people's aren't. I love that. No, don't get me wrong. I had this girl once. She was like, can I send you some Scentsy? I was like, those are chemicals. Don't really want them in my house, but I don't want to say no. So she sent me a sample of Scentsy. It was so cute. She had the tissue paper. She did everything. It was so stinking adorable. I ordered even though I didn't want the product. Okay. I'm just saying that cute works. However, you guys, my samples look like I'm doing a shady drug deal in the back alley. Okay. I'm just going to put it out there. They are not cute. I'm just like, here's my bag from my purse, right? I got this Louis that's like filled with like old oranges and like, you know, diaper wipes. And I'm like pulling out this like bag. I'm like, here you go. It still works. So don't feel like you have to have it totally like perfect and put together, because I don't, and I'm still doing okay, right? But Lelania, those are beautiful. And so thank you for sharing. And it's inspo, and one day I'll get my act together and they're going to look like that. All right. So we have Denise is going to share about her experience at the Georgia event. So Denise, I can't wait to hear from you.
Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Well, hello, my name is Denise Bloom. I live in Florida, and I drove up 10 and a half hours to attend that event. So I would say all the takeaways that have already been shared are of high value. I think my perspective that I can give for you guys today is first of all, I'm relatively new to Bravenly, but I came into direct sales before social media was even a thing. Like even before the web, even before there was internet. So I've been involved in direct sales for over 23 years. So I had to build my business belly to belly. There was no other option. There was no safe zone. It was, you had to learn how to connect with people, and that was your only option. So we called it lips and shoe leather business. So, and what I love about Bravenly, or what really attracted me to Bravenly from the business perspective, is that it didn't pigeonhole you to, you could do what you were really good at. So whether it was social media or whether it was choosing to do it belly to belly. And so I'm most comfortable in building relationships one-on-one. That is where I'm really good at. And I'm learning social media. So that is very outside of my comfort zone. So unlike all you guys that are superstars, I'm just in awe of what you guys doing. And I'm trying to step into that genre, and I'm doing it scared, and I'm doing it and kind of failing forward, right? So but this is what I can tell you in terms of the power of events, or even power of doing sip and samples in your home, is that in this world, I would say, especially this up and coming generation, is that, especially coming out of COVID, is that people are craving relationships. And people have been isolated. And yes, social media has been a necessary evil, if you want to say that, or a necessary asset. And we want to embrace technology, but we want to embrace technology but also without forgetting the importance of one-on-one will always be an important approach. People want to be seen and want to be heard, just like what you're hearing. And that cannot necessarily be done through the lens of a camera. And my business, I built slow and steady. You can come out of the gate fast and running, but I'm just a slow and steady gal. So it's all about the people. So let me step back. I built my business by developing relationships with people. I developed a trust with them. They trusted me. And so we grew together. We always did this business together. And if you can't, and I'm not so sure, I'm sure you can develop trust through connecting through DMs and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know how deep that goes, but I can tell you what does go deep, as far as being willing to drive 10 and a half hours to support a friend who's willing to look at Bravenly. And I didn't want them to be in the room alone. So, and while it was only a 45-minute drive for them, it was a 10 and a half drive for me. And I was willing to make that investment for that person. And because I didn't want her to be alone in that room, I could have, and she would have seen it and had value. But what does it speak more for that person to know that the person who is introducing you to Bravenly is willing to do the hard things and the inconvenient things? And then the cool thing about that is I can lead that person and say they were excited about that event. They got to that event, they were excited. And I said, hey, I'm here for one more day. Can we do a sip and sample and just get whoever you can and put them in the room? And she's like, I don't know if I can do that. I said, yes, you can. So we did it. We got into action and we did a sip and sample. 3 people showed up. And the 2 people that showed up, it was her best friend. And she said, tell your sister she has to come. And she's like, okay. So she had a next door neighbor, and then she had 2 of her friends, or her best friend, and then her sister showed up, and we just shared Bravenly. And this is what we did. We did exactly what Aspen said, because I've never done a sip and sample with Bravenly. I've always done mixers the way I know how in my other direct sales venture. But she said, Aspen did make this suggestion. She says, don't make it complicated, keep it simple. There is on the YouTube, there's a introduction to Bravenly. Plug that in and let that video do the messaging for you. So So it needs to be, and it needs to be simple and something that's duplicatable. And that was something very simple. So we just did that. And then we just talked and we shared stories about how we are loving products. And then we asked questions. What are you most interested in? Well, that really just turned into someone actually wanting to do the business, and the other one that wants just products. So it was a win for her. So what does that do for your business? Well, it creates excitement for that person, that we know that if we can give them a win within 48 hours of them saying yes to the business, that increases their chances of sticking and staying. So was it inconvenient for me? Yes. But as a leader, I know the importance of that and the value and what that says to that person, and creates trust in that person so that she can go, or that person can go out and build their business and know that somebody, that I have their back. So relationships trump everything in this business, I believe. And the only way you can do that is through just belly to belly, and that looks different for everybody, but that was just a great example of what happened this weekend for me. I'm embracing both. And that's the beauty of this. I think you can do both. It can be a hybrid. I'm still learning and trying to figure it out. But I'm just so excited to be a part of Bravenly. And I just really appreciate you allowing me to share my story.
Denise, we so appreciate you and your wisdom. And I mean, 23 years in the industry, we need to hear more from you, because I guarantee you probably have a lot of stories and a lot of things you can teach us. I love that you said slow and steady, because, I think we see people who come in and bring over tons of people and they grow really fast. But, I'm going to tell you from my experience, I could go out and probably recruit, 5 people tomorrow if I wanted, with different tactics. But how many of those 5 would stay? Probably none. I would rather take the time and build those relationships and develop that 10-hour drive. Is a 10-hour drive duplicatable? No, it's not. We need to keep our systems duplicatable, right? We need to keep things that needs to be duplicatable, but the relationships won't be, because people don't want to be a part of a factory, right? People want to know that they're more than a number, a transaction within your organization. And so Denise showed that. Bet you that lady that she, or I'm assuming it's a woman, right? That, she drove 10 and a half hours for, bet you there's going to be some loyalty there. You know what I mean? I bet, she's not just going to be like, I don't feel like this. She's going to be like, no, my leader cares enough to do this. I'm in good hands. Let's do this. So, sometimes what seems like it's too much work or not duplicatable really is the very thing that is going to build the strongest foundation in your organization. So I just want to throw that out there, because I think so many of us have been taught, like, bring in, recruit, bring in the masses. It's a numbers game. No, it's not. People aren't numbers. They're not. So impressed with you, Denise. Thank you so much for sharing. Next, you guys, we have Marcy is going to pop on here. And she's another, I know this is the first time you've heard from Denise, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear from Marcy as well. It's the first time she's been on our coffee chat. So let's see. I see her on here. I know here, I'm going to go just send her a quick text, because I know she's actually, she's got the coolest job. Oh, here she is. Marcy, tell me what you do.
Sorry.
Tell me your other job, because it's so cool.
Well, yeah, I was just going to apologize to you guys, because I'm in the car. We're driving back from Lowe's, because I have a professional organizing business, and one of the services we offer is packing to move. So we're packing a client today. So we just had to run and get. Can you hear me okay, Carly? Good. Okay. All right, guys. So Carly asked me, I did go up to the event. I live in Georgia. I live in Atlanta, just south of Atlanta. And I did drive up to Gainesville. I did not drive as far as Denise, but I drove. It was a little over 2 hours. And so the first thing I want to share with you guys is I've been in this industry probably since 2014 or 15. And when I first started, I joined for $300 a month. I had a car with no AC, and I just needed a new used car. And I made $900 my first month. So then when my upline said, what do you want to do with this business? I was like, I want to go to the top and I want to go fast. So she made a rule, and we called it the 4-hour rule. And so if there was an event within 4 hours of where you lived, you showed up. And so not long after that, maybe a month into the business, they were having a biz op in Valdosta, Georgia. And so I put it in my Google Maps and it was 3 hours and 58 minutes. And so I was like, well, I have to go. I have to show up. And so I didn't know anybody. It made no sense for me to go to this event. It was truly just a biz op. Now, the one that we did in Gainesville, they did a biz op and then they did a training. So it was very valuable. But I don't know anybody in Valdosta. I didn't have any guests. I didn't even know anybody, any of the other consultants. So I booked a hotel room. I drove 4 hours. I went to the biz op. It made no sense for me to be there, but I got in the room, guys, and I got so excited. So that's like my number one thing is get in the room, whether you have a guest or not, whether it makes sense or not, because the excitement is palpable. Like when you get, there's excitement in numbers. And when you get that many people in an event, like if your events might start out small, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but if you can make it to an event, you need to go. Whether it's a training or not, I just say go. You get to hear other people's stories. You get to connect with other people like Donna was sharing. And it just makes sense. So when I was with, my first company was Rodan and Fields, and we grew our business on events. So we started in somebody's clubhouse in their neighborhood, and we just invited some friends. We each brought, like, somebody would bring Coke, somebody would bring cookies. And we quickly outgrew the clubhouse because we had, 5 of us that wanted to do an event together, and everybody invited one person. And then some of those people joined, and then they invited their guests. And so before we knew it, we were doing monthly events at it was above a restaurant called Due South, and they had like a small event room. And sometimes it was mostly consultants. And when it very first started, there was probably, 10 or 15 of us that went. We did open it up to anybody from Rodan and Fields. We didn't just keep it specifically for our team. So I think that's really important too. What I've seen over the years is people have a scarcity mindset when they want to start having events in their community because they want to keep it for just their team, because there's excitement in numbers. And if you just open it up as a Bravenly event and not specifically a Marcy's team event, like you're going to get more people there, but also you're going to have more people that are going to buy a ticket. They're going to help pay for either the event space or the giveaways that you do or whatever. So I think that's probably 4-hour rule is like number one tip. Get in the room. Like the excitement's palpable. Do not have a scarcity mindset just because there's another big team. Like I live 2 hours from Gainesville. There's a huge team in Gainesville. They're growing like crazy. It would be silly of me to not, if I ever had a Bravenly event, to say they couldn't come because I have a scarcity mindset because they're growing so fast. No, you want as many people from Bravenly in the room as possible so that they can see how we are as a company, like the whole culture. So open it up. I will say we did $10 per person. So $10 per brand, or we were consultants, but brand partner. Guests are free. So we didn't charge anything for guests to come. And then that $10 that you collected paid for the event center, the giveaways, whatever you were going to do. And the really awesome thing was I felt like I always had something to be talking to my prospects about, right? So like I would be like, hey, Carly, we're having this awesome thing. There's going to be a cash bar. We can have a glass of wine. You can see the skincare. Like, do you want to come with me? And she's like, oh, shoot, Tommy has baseball. And I'm like, no problem. We have one next month. You want me to be on my list to invite next month? So I had like this rolling list of people to invite. And then they saw pictures. And so then they were like, oh, shoot, I didn't make it to that one, but I really want to go to the next one. And we had been doing these events from October we had started in October. And by the following August, I had an event where 8 guests joined me because I just kept rolling over, right? So I had 8 guests. Every single one of them signed as a consultant that night. So it gives you something to continually talk to your prospects about. It gives you something to constantly be invited to. And then they're going to see the pictures and they're going to want to come have a glass of wine and they're going to want to come get a sample of brush, then it was skincare, and they're going to grow. And I'll never forget, I went to a training one time a long time ago when I first started this industry. And it was a man speaking. I can't remember who it was now, but he said he went to a coffee shop every Saturday and set up a table of products. And that was how he committed that he was going to grow his business. And he said, I set up a display for an empty room for years. But then he went on to become one of the biggest leaders in network marketing because it was his consistency. He just kept showing up, whether it was just him having coffee with nobody or talking to the barista, or one person came and then eventually they filled huge rooms in hotel, banquet rooms. And it just takes time and it takes consistency. But I will tell you that there's excitement in numbers. And if you can get in front of people, they want to be part of the community. And then the other thing I was going to tell you guys is that the one thing I wish they had done differently in Gainesville is they had products out for everybody to sample. They gave away a ton of products, guys. You don't have to give away that much. I mean, they probably gave away, I would be willing to bet it was over $1,000 worth of stuff. You don't have to do that. You can do samples and give away those. But they didn't, and when they were doing kind of like the biz off, they didn't talk about the products. And I think that, yes, you don't want to get there. You don't want to do a slideshow. You don't want to talk about all the ingredients and everything like that. But guys, I came to Bravenly for Rush. I said this on a live the other night. I came for Rush and I stayed for the comp plan. Like, I came to Bravenly because I needed something I needed clean energy. And so I think that that's not everybody that's coming as a guest necessarily right away is interested in the business or doesn't know that they're interested in the business yet. And so I think that it's like there's a gap there if you don't take the opportunity to just touch on the products. And you don't have to talk about like the different kinds of mushrooms that are in Brew Boost, but you can just say like, we have this, we have this, we have this. Because I think that there's some people that, like, I don't remember who said it, but they're going to be interested in just the products. They don't necessarily want to build a business, but we know that when they taste Rush and they feel good and they tell their sister, we're like, hey, you could make money. Like, that's the gateway, right? So don't miss that. Don't miss an opportunity to talk about products. And the way we did it was we literally had like 2 or 3 people get up, share their stories, and then we had tables set up around the room. So I guess what it would look like for Bravenly would be a table for Rush, a table for maybe Brew Boost and Gold together. And then so like talked for maybe 30 minutes max. And then we let everybody mingle and they got to go around to all the different tables. And there was a rep at each table to explain like what the benefits of Gold were, what the benefits of Brew Boost were. So it was really like super casual. Everybody got to talk, everybody got to ask questions. They got samples of everything. And they just were really powerful. And it ended up where before we stopped doing the events, it was 200 people every time we had an opportunity at an event, and we started them in somebody's clubhouse. So there's just power in consistency. There's power in numbers. And the other thing I was going to say is for those of you that I laughed when Carly said that like her hometown is like, who wants to build here? Like somebody can, because, she hasn't. So that was the other thing. That same leader that gave me the 4-hour rule, she challenged me. She was like, pick a city that you feel like, or an area that you feel like is untapped, and go plan an event there. Well, I live in Georgia, but I'm from Maine. So I was like, well, there's hardly any reps in Maine. So I flew home, rented a space. I asked 3 girlfriends if they would invite people. And I told them whoever got the most people in the room got a free regimen. So like I made a competition between the 3 of them, and they filled a room. There was 40 people there. 3 people joined me that night. And one of them went on to become my level 5, which made me premier, which means nothing to you guys, but it was the next promotion. So, it's fun to kind of just challenge yourself. Think of an area that you would love to build in. Think of if you have a hometown, if you have a friend that lives somewhere that you feel like is untapped. Everywhere's untapped right now for Bravenly. That's kind of the cool part. But events, I really do. I built my entire business with Rodiana Fields. The first 2 years was on events. And I text my best friend that we ran together, we built together, we did all the events together. And I said, what do you think? I'm talking tomorrow. What do you think it was that made our event so successful? She said, just the excitement. That's it. We got to see each other every month. We got to meet new consultants every month. We always had something to invite to, and it was just palpable. When you walked into the room, you were just automatically excited, and guests didn't even know why they were excited. They just were. So, love events. I love events. Get in the room, whether it makes sense or not. And yeah, that's it.
Wow, Marcy. I don't know. I'm like impressed and convicted all at once. And who wants to come grow my hometown? Marcus, I see you. We share the same hometown, but he moved away. Marcy, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So if you have time.
Yeah.
So when you're starting with events and everything, I think about like, okay, if I'm going to put in this effort and I'm going to do all this, like, what does it look like to invite? Like, how do you, are you incentivizing people with gifts or, you know, it's just getting started? How, like, think like basic baby steps for someone like me. How do you
Yeah,
go
I
through
think
that
that you
process?
would. Yeah, I think I would just call my, like, I think a personal invitation is always best. So I would think of the people that I genuinely wanted to come have a glass of wine with me. Like, you know, like who do I know that needs a night out? Who do I know? Like, I was just like, hey, do you want to come? If I had had any type of conversation about Rodan and Fields with anybody and they were within an hour radius of where we're going to have it, I would reach out to them and be like, hey, I know we've talked about Rush before. We actually are having this awesome event. It's just like a little like get together. You can sample Rush there, you know, whatever. Maybe we're gonna have some drawings, but just a personal invitation. I mean, like the more authentic you can make it, the better, and the more people that are gonna come. I think we did do a lot on social media as far as like putting it out there that we were having these events. You know, message below if you want to come. But I never got a lot of response from that. My responses always came from that personal, authentic invitation.
And then what does your follow-up look like? So you invite people to this event. Are you following up the day of? Like, give us a little bit about that.
I'm full transparency. Follow-ups are like I'm terrible at follow-ups, but I feel like I mean, honestly, most of the people that came to the event with me ended up joining the business. And so, and if they didn't, then I mean, every once in a while I'll be like, you know, are you something you're still interested in? But I was constantly looking for new people to talk to. So I'm sure I probably missed some opportunities by not having a better follow-up system, but I was just always looking for new people to invite that hadn't been before because I knew that they were going to be excited as long as I could get them there.
Oh, love that. Love that. And then the day of the event, would you like send out reminders like, hey, we're getting ready to have this, that kind of thing?
Yeah. And we usually did them in the evening. So we usually did them on Thursday nights at like from 7 to 9. And where we had it, there was a restaurant there. So sometimes I would even say, like, if I had somebody that I really wanted to come, I'd be like, look, just meet me for dinner. We're going to eat at 6, and then we'll go upstairs. You can just see what this is about. So we always did them in the evenings.
I love it. I love it. You guys, so many great tips there. I know that like I'm totally inspired. So Marcy, thank you so much. I love
You're
that you're on
welcome.
here and just a wealth of knowledge. So I really, truly appreciate that.
No problem. I'm going to hop off.
Okay. Take care. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. So I love all that. One thing she said, did you guys catch the coffee shop story about the guy who consistently went in there and ended up growing one of the biggest businesses? I love that. And I have to tell you a story. I don't know if my husband's still on here, but it's so funny. So like Tim decided, he's like, I'm going to go recruit. Right. So he my husband's a contractor and he knows everybody at Home Depot. Right. And so that's what that's like his circle is people. So he didn't tell me this because if he told me he was going to do it, I would have told him not to, but he did it anyway. So he actually went and bought a big case of water bottles and brought his baggie of Rush. So funny. He stuck his water bottles in the Home Depot cart with his Rush and walked around to people, giving them scoops of Rush and sampling people in Home Depot. Like, that was what he did. But it's so funny because he's actually, you know, he's getting from that. I know he's getting at least 1 or 2 customers and a brand partner out of the deal. And the manager of Home Depot went up to him and says, if you start stealing my good employees to come work at your Bravenly business, I'm going to be really mad. So anyway, I thought that was funny. And those are, I mean, obviously, am I going to do that? Probably not. That is so far out of my comfort zone. You guys have no idea. But for Tim, for my husband, like, I'm like, go do it. You know what I mean? So it's just those things that we do that, you know, obviously those people know him. So he wasn't some strange guy passing out some bright yellow liquid to people, right? These are people that he had some sort of connectivity with. But with that said, it's just like, you know, people aren't pigeonholed. And I know Denise just popped off, but she loves that we're not pigeonholed here. We can grow how we want to. And if that means pushing around a shopping cart full of water bottles at Home Depot and it works. Yeah. Like, I love that. So anyway, I want to open it up to any of you and any tips that you guys might have or questions or anything like that. So especially any of you guys that have done events, if you want to share, Glenn, I see you. Do you want to pop in and tell what you were going to tell, some tips or thoughts? Okay, maybe not. There he is.
No tips on, I mean, they work. Like, I mean, just, well, I wasn't expected to be put on the spot. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. You're
Yeah.
like, right when I said that, you like, your camera came back on. So I thought that that was you like saying,
I
hey, I'm
mean,
here. But yeah, no worries.
so a lot of people, like, they think that they don't want to build home parties anymore and stuff like that. But honestly, like, I did it for 7 years, and people, they were in my business for 7 years. Now we see people hopping around from company to company because there's nobody that like hangs out and like makes actual friendships. It's just online and like hiding behind the camera and stuff like that, guys. Like, just hanging out with people, like I'm sure Donna and Lelania and everybody else, like this weekend, their cup is filled. I mean, I don't see them leaving anytime soon. Like everybody who went to convention, I don't see them leaving anytime soon, guys. Like we gotta start hanging out, and we gotta start being friends. And like, even if it's just to go to the coffee shop, like I have a lady that's local to me. I've actually done two-on-one meetings for her in the local coffee shop, and she signed up 2 brand partners. And like, I don't see those people leaving anytime soon. But we got to get back to that. Like, it's not really that hard. Just bring people over, put some products in their body, share your story. And I think it's going to keep people around for a long time. And I don't see people hopping around from business to business as much if we'll build those actual friendships like in person.
Yeah, I love that. And that's true when you build the community, right? You guys, it's like that part. We can have a great business, but if our cup's not filled, if we're missing that aspect, then, then we're going to be craving something else or more. And I was thinking about that, coming into Bravenly, I had Ricky was a lifelong friend, right? And lifelong, last 4 years. But I'm just saying though, like knowing that I was walking into that culture where I felt safe and edified and loved. That's important. So it's our job as leaders to create that for our people. And Glenn, you do a great job of that. And sorry, I thought you were like getting ready to talk, which I didn't mean to call you out. So Heather, I know you just, let me go ahead and look at Heather says one of the best things about conference was being able to put real people to Zoom screen faces. Real connections are long-term connections. Yes. Amen, sister. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So in June, like July, Ricky had a party at his house and people come over, and it was really cool to be able to meet Ricky and like other leaders in the company. He's doing another one in July, guys. If you can come, I'll definitely come. He's having a pool party, volleyball, and like all the things, but just hanging out with your leaders, like your friends, like again, like those relationships are going to keep you guys around for a long time.
Amen to that. Yeah, Glenn, I'm going to be at that. So you guys, Ricky is doing a party. If you want to go, we can make sure you get an invite. It is for everybody. I'm bringing my kids. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for you guys to, for us to come meet and to hang out and have dinner and just celebrate the fact that we're a part of something that's bigger than ourselves and we're going to do big things. So yay, Donna, she might show up. Yeah, come and bring your brother. So does anybody else have any questions, any thoughts, any comments?
Hey, guys, Monday and Thursdays, we are doing those 20-minute opportunity calls. And I want to see them get bigger. Like the speakers that have been speaking on these have been absolutely crushing it. And whether you have somebody on or not, like the more people that show up to these calls, whenever your prospects are on and they see 50 people like logging in to see these opportunity calls we're doing, it's going to look more impressive. But just because you don't have somebody on there, I mean, again, they're only 20 minutes long. Come on, support your leaders. They're stepping up and showing up. So I think if we can do this correctly, guys, we can really blow this thing up. Again, they're consistent. They're every Monday and Thursday. They're only 20 minutes long. It's not death by PowerPoint, like Donna said. But the one I'm doing this Thursday, guys, I'm having Mallory speak. Mallory Aldo, I think of her last name, Aldebar. They're probably going to hit executive vice president this month, and they signed up November 1st. And they've been doing 2 of these calls like every week. So I'm excited for her to share on our call this week and let us see how they're doing it on their team. So guys, this Thursday, it's going to be very explosive. That'll be 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let's definitely try to pack this thing out on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Glenn. I think that it's important, here we're talking about in-person belly-to-belly events, but, I think Denise said it best, it's doing a hybrid. And I've built my entire business off of online activity. So we definitely don't want to miss that. And so Just like you'd said, so Mallory had come in with her team and they do these calls and they're really good about inviting people to these calls and it's creating a lot of explosive growth. Now, here's the thing. I think you guys have in your head, it's like the death by a PowerPoint call. Like we're going to pop in and it's going to be long and boring. And, just like people be like, what did you invite me to? That is not what this is. If you haven't been on them and if you're weary, you're like, I don't know if I want to invite my people. Cause trust me, I've been on those calls where I'm like, dang, I wish I would have invited my people. This is not that. Glenn, Siobhan, they've done a really great job of, packing these out with just some incredible people, diverse people. I know Kristen's spoken on them. I mean, we've had just a lot of different voices, but last week, it was Heather Fridge and Siobhan and Candace. And Candace she's a natural practitioner. She's fantastic. Well, the three of them shared. And I was looking at this, I'm like, when I was looking for a company, and I always look at the lens, like, okay, when I was looking, would this appeal to me? And when I was looking at companies, if somebody would have invited me to this call, there is no question that I would have said, I need to know more. They did such an incredible job. And that's me as a leader, right? That's me as somebody who, knows what they're talking about as far as like, I understand, all the ins and outs of network marketing. And so listening to that, I was like, okay, they got something here. They did it in 20 minutes and it was in and out. Like I am the first person to say family first. I do not want to spend my life on Zooms. And we're not saying you have to be on every Tuesday and Thursday, but you guys, if you don't utilize this tool, you're missing out. And honestly, I didn't have a guest yesterday. I just popped in to listen. And you want to know something? It got me really fired up about my business. You know what I mean? It was 20 minutes while I'm literally cooking dinner, listening. And I'm like, I didn't have my camera on. And I'm like, dang, I have a really freaking phenomenal business with a really amazing team. And we're attracting some badass leaders. Like that's what's going through my head. If that's all you get from popping on one of these Tuesdays to Thursdays, that's enough. That's enough. So anyway, Siobhan, I know you have your hand up.
And it's Monday and Thursday, not Tuesday. But okay. So when I was at conference, I probably talked to, and I've said this before, I spoke to as many people that I could saying that we're going to do these calls because I was holding myself accountable. Right. And it's kind of like events. You have to say you're going to do it and tell people and then do it. And the first one's always uncomfortable and the second one gets better and just goes on and on and on. But what I want to say is that a lot of people, especially in network marketing, have this like visceral reaction when they hear opportunity call. So I have removed that phrase from my vocabulary. I am suggesting you try and do the same. This is a Why Bravenly call. It's not an opportunity call. This is a chance for you to bring somebody in to see if there's something that sparks their interest to continue a conversation. This call is not meant for them to listen and sign up right away. This call is meant for them to know why the people we have invited to share have chosen Bravenly to be their home. That is it. So I really believe that you guys, if you can present it in that way as like, it's a Why Bravenly call. It's information for you to learn. If this is the right place for you to land, you'll get more people who are willing to come. Oh, hi, baby. My neighbor's here. But anyway, that's all I had to say. That's it. Just it's Why Bravenly. It's not an opportunity call. Delete those words from your vocabulary. And I promise people will be more interested because it's more authentic. It's more real. It's more relational that way. And it's not this stuffy join my business.
Yeah, I love that, Siobhan. And I think that, opportunity calls are stale and people are over them. The PowerPoint, all that, these are just some incredible people talking about why they were brought into it. And that's exactly what it would have done for me is it would have said, hey, I want to know more. Yeah, you piqued my interest. Like, let's hear more. And that's a golden spot to be, right? That's a really great place to be. So utilize these for sure. We're almost done here. Anyone else have any last minute thoughts before we end for the week?
I just want to thank Siobhan for like being consistent with these and helping me head these up every Monday and Thursday. Like I wouldn't be able to keep this going without her. So thank you, Siobhan. And then also Siobhan is like, she brought on Crystal Melody, like from Canada. And Crystal has put Siobhan and myself probably in like 25 group chats, 10 Zoom calls. Like Siobhan, like she's doing these Monday and Thursday calls. She's helping Melody. She's helping the rest of her team. So just huge shout out to Siobhan for being one of the best leaders I've ever seen, and keeping up with all of her team. She wakes up at like 5:30 in the morning and works till like 10 o'clock at night. So thank you, Siobhan, for being an amazing leader.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Siobhan is going to literally take Canada by storm with her people. So we're so proud of you. And yes, I totally, echo what Glenn said. You're an amazing, amazing leader who does a lot for our team. So we appreciate you. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hopping on here. We'll obviously get back on next week, but we're halfway through the month now. So I know a lot of you have big goals for this month. So let's kick it into gear. We're here to help you any way that we can. And I'm excited. So we'll be talking soon, you guys. Take care.